What's happening, good people? So, today Trump has signed an executive order to dismantle the Department of Education. So, uh, let's go on ahead and check out and see what's really going on here. Cause I paid my okay. Let me start here. I paid my student loans this year, right? Actually, the end of last year, before the new year even hit, I paid all my student loans off. For those of y'all who don't know, I went to school for music, and so I had to pay that money back. And after we finished up everything with All American season 3, I ended up just paying my student loans back because I didn't want to be one of those people who didn't pay their student loans. And so it was important for me to, if I was going to be talking all this big shit, and most people know I talk big shit, I wanted to make sure that I actually have my business handled. And so that was one of the reasons why I did it. And I think everybody who went to school for something should pay their student loans back. And I know that's against popular belief and all of that, but I think that you should pay your student loans back. You went to school, you got the money, pay the student loans back. Don't be that kind of person that doesn't pay the student loan back. You borrowed the money, pay the fucking money back. So let's get into what Trump is doing and the reasoning why. This is going to be pretty, an extensive video in a sense. So, yeah, let's get into it.
To the Second Virginia Convention, in which he declared very well-known, very famous words, "Give me liberty or give me death." Has anyone heard the phrase? I think most of you have.
Woo!
And moments ago, I also signed an executive order to dramatically increase production of critical minerals and rare earths. It's a big thing in this country, and as you know, we're also signing agreements in various locations to unlock rare earths and minerals and lots of other things all over the world. But in particular, Ukraine, we're doing very well with regard to Ukraine and Russia. And one of the things we are doing is signing a deal very shortly with respect to rare earths with Ukraine, which they have tremendous value in rare earth, and we appreciate that.
Yeah.
And we spoke yesterday with, as you know, President Putin and President Zelensky, and we would love to see that come to an end, and I think we're doing pretty well in that regard. So hopefully we could save thousands of people a week from dying. That's what it's all about. They're dying so unnecessarily, and I believe we'll get it done. We'll see what happens, but I believe we'll get it done. Today we take a very historic action that was 45 years in the making. In a few moments, I will sign an executive order to begin eliminating the Federal Department of Education once and for all.
I love it.
And it sounds strange, doesn't it? Department of Education, we're going to eliminate it. And everybody knows it's right. And the Democrats know it's right, and I hope they're going to be voting for it because ultimately it may come before them. But everybody knows it's right, and we have to get our children educated. We're not doing well with the world of education in this country, and we haven't for a long time. And we're pleased to be joined today by the woman who I chose because she's an extraordinary person. And hopefully she will be our last Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon. Linda, thank you. Thank you very much. That's another interesting statement. It's an interesting opening, right? But it's true, and it's been amazing how popular this has been. I tell people that this is what I'm doing today, and they say, oh, it's about time. Everybody says it. Republicans and Democrats have said it. They're all saying it. Also with us are some terrific people. Governors Greg Abbott. Greg, thank you very much. Governor Ron DeSantis, thank you very much, Ron. Mike Braun, congratulations on your victory, Mike. That was a big one. Mike DeWine. Thank you very much, Mike. Jeff Landry. Jeff, thank you very much, Jeff. Bill Lee, thank you. Governors, all governors. Brad Little. Brad, thank you very much. Where are you, Brad? Hi, Brad. Jim Pylan, thank you very much, Jim. And Kim Reynolds. These are all people very interested in education. And I even see Dan Patrick over there, my friend Dan Patrick. We're joined also by Representatives Tim Walberg and
I'm really
Virginia Fox, Rick Allen, Michael Rulli.
Standing out over here. Some heavy
And
hitters in the
again,
building,
Dan
though.
Patrick, thank you very much, Dan. You've been a great friend of ours. And State Attorneys General Ken Paxton. Ken, I see you there. Andrew Bailey. Andrew, what a job you've done, Andrew. You have some good cases going. You've done a great job. Thank you very much. And co-founder of Moms for Liberty, Tiffany Justice. She's been a hard worker. Thank you. Thank you, Tiffany. When President Carter created the Federal Education Department in 1979, it was opposed by members of his own cabinet, as well as the American Federation of Teachers, the New York Times editorial board, and the famed Democrat Senator Daniel Patrick Moynihan. History has proven them right, absolutely right. After 45 years, the United States spends more money on education by far than any other country, and spends likewise by far more money per pupil than any country, and it's not even close. But yet we rank near the bottom of the list in terms
We're not
of
even
success.
in the top 5.
It's an amazing
top
stat.
10.
That's those are two stats you don't want: the most money spent per pupil,
Right.
and
And the
you're at
dumbest.
the bottom of the list. And that's where we are, like it or not. And we've been there for a long time.
So I'll say a few things. I went to a convention. I went to a leadership convention in Orlando last year just to find out that one in three children, understand the statistic, 1 in 3 children are reading at or above grade level. 1 in 3. That means 33% of that means 66% of our children are not reading at grade level. You understand what I'm saying? Like literally, it's bad right now, and I don't think that people understand. We are in an educational crisis. The kids can't read, they can't write, they can't spell, they lack social skills. So we are at the bottom of the list when it comes to this. Less than 50% of children are at or above grade level. It's really bad. You know what I'm saying? It's really bad. Let's go.
70% of eighth graders are not proficient in either
wow.
reading
Here we go.
or in math.
I've never seen this, by the way. I haven't seen this. I just set up the stream, but I have not seen this at all. So this is why I'm the way. And you know what? Okay, let's start here. You know what I feel? Before we really deep dive into this, I have reached out to, and I'm not gonna put nobody on blast, but I reached out to CEOs and presidents of school districts in Los Angeles, and I said, let me provide an arts program. Nobody is more suited. I mean, obviously there are, but they're not going to do what I want to do within the school system. I said we have to incentivize education. We are not incentivizing children to read, write, spell, math. I mean, we're not incentivizing it. I said one of the only things that I know that involves the whole brain is music, creativity. Now, everybody doesn't want to do it, but I also just did a nonprofit. Also helped a nonprofit organization. Shout out to the Heart and Soul Foundation. I partnered with them last year during the summer, and we ended up getting a sponsorship with Sony. We had a partnership with Sony. Sony provided a lot of the gear, the microphones, great microphones, by the way. And also, I'm recording on the Sphere DLX by UAD, which was purchased by Townsend, and I use the C300, right, which is the Sony C300, right, which is one of the most prominent mics ever used in recording, and that's what you hear right now, and the clarity, the crispness, all of that. I wanted to set up a recording and production program through Green Dot, through Kip. I still haven't gotten any words back. I still haven't gotten any. I said I'll do it. I'll help. And what I learned when I worked with the Heart and Soul Foundation is that's the very thing that these kids needed. They wanted to be heard. They wanted to be. They wanted to have that outlet of expression. They wanted to have that, and that was the biggest. I mean, out of all of the programs, they did tech, they did drones. I mean, the Heart and Soul Foundation is a chef's kiss, phenomenal foundation led by Dr. DK, a very good friend of mine. More blessings, and God willing, we will do it again 2025. But I learned so much about what's really going on, right? The kids can't read, they can't write, they can't spell, but you know what they can do? They can create. So what we have to be able to do is give them a creative outlet to where we can incorporate all of these things, because music is math, production is math, literally. Production is math, fractions. You want them to get to know fractions better, put it in the form of music, put it in the form of song, and I guarantee you they'll be able to do it. But I wanted to give a little feedback, because like I said, I haven't seen this, but I have literally been reaching out to people. People have been reaching out to me on LinkedIn. I said, listen, I am ready when you are, and I have yet to get a response back. I have been trying and clawing to get production, music production, recording arts, songwriting into these schools, and nobody has grabbed. Nobody has took me up on my offer. And I said, I'll just do it. I'll help you do it. I'll help create the curriculum. And then I'll come in from now and again to make sure that it's ran correctly, because my schedule just does not permit me. It doesn't permit for me to just be there full time. You know what I'm saying? It costs me to be there full time. And so I don't mind helping, you get it in order. But, I mean, we have to incentivize education. There's no incentive. That's all I'm saying. Let's continue this.
70%. 40% of fourth graders lack even basic reading skills, can't read.
Can't make this
Students
up.
in our public elementary and middle schools score worse in reading today than when the department opened.
Wow.
By a lot. In Baltimore, 40% of the high schools have 0 students who can do basic mathematics. Not even the very simplest of mathematics. I said, give me your definition of basic, and they're talking about like adding a few numbers together. Despite these breathtaking failures, the department's discretionary budget has exploded by 600% in a very short period of time, and it employs bureaucrats in buildings all over Washington, D.C. And as a former real estate person, I will tell you, I ride through the streets of Washington and it says Department of Education, Department of Education. I said, how do you fill those buildings? It's crazy what's happened over the years. I'm pleased to report that after offering these federal employees 2 generous buyout options, and they were very generous, and they're good people, but they were very generous. My administration has initiated a reduction in force, and we're already cutting numbers that were really surprising to a lot, that we were able to do it so successfully. And we've cut the number of bureaucrats in half. 50% have taken office, which is great. Thank you. Under the action I'm taking today, a small handful of Democrats and others that we have employed for a long time, and there are some Republicans, but not too many, I have to be honest with you. But the department's useful functions, and such as, and they're in charge of them, Pell Grants, Title I funding, resources for children with disabilities and special needs will be preserved, fully preserved. They're all going to be so. If you look at the Pell Grants, supposed to be a very good program. Title I funding and resources for children with special disabilities and special needs. They're going to be preserved in full and redistributed to various other agencies and departments that will take very good care of them. And that's very important to Linda, I know, and it's very important to all of us. But beyond these core necessities, my administration will take all lawful steps to shut down the department. We're going to shut it down and shut it down as quickly as possible. It's doing us no good. We want to return
Absolutely.
our students to the states where just some of the governors here are so happy about this. They want education to come back to them, to come back to the states, and they're going to do a phenomenal job. You know, if you look, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, I have to tell you, I give them a lot of credit. China's top 10. And so we can't now say that bigness is making it impossible to educate, because China is very big. But you have countries that do a very good job in education. And I really believe, like some of the governors here today, from states that run very, very well, including a big state like Texas, but states that run very well are going to have education that will be as good as Norway, Denmark, Sweden, and those top, Finland, those top countries that do so well with education. I think they'll do every bit as well. And what do you think about that, Governor? Do you agree? I think so. Ron, do you agree? I think so. Florida?
Yeah.
Iowa? That's right. I really believe that. They'll be as good as any of them. And then you'll have some laggards, and we'll work with them. And we can all tell you who the laggards will be right now, probably, but let's not get into that. But we'll work with them, and we're going to make them, they'll do a job. I think they'll do a job, and they'll go to sections of the state. For instance, New York, you'll have a Manhattan, and you'll have a Suffolk County, and you'll have Nassau County, and you'll have Westchester County. You'll do 4 or 5 or 6 of them. You have upstate New York, and those counties, I think, are going to do very well. And I think ultimately Manhattan should do very well. But we'll break it down into sections, and I think it'll be really, really good. And they're going to be probably the tougher ones, but I think they have a chance to do really well. But we're going to be returning education very simply back to the states where it belongs. And this is a very popular thing to do, but much more importantly, it's a common sense thing to do, and it's going to work. Absolutely, it's going to work. And I can tell you from dealing with the governors and others in the state, they want it so badly. They want to take their children back and really teach their children individually. Probably the cost will be half, and the education will be maybe many, many times better. So we look forward to this. I want to just make one little personal statement. Teachers, to me, are among the most important people in this country.
Absolutely.
And we're going to take care of our teachers. And I don't care if they're in the union or not in the union.
Yeah.
That doesn't matter. But we're going to take care of our teachers. And I believe the states will take actually better care of them than they are taken care of right now. They'll work all sorts of systems and even merit systems. Those great teachers are going to be maybe a little bit better rewarded, or maybe that's the way it should be, but the states are going to make that decision. But we're going to love and cherish our teachers along with our children, and they're going to work with the parents, and they're going to work with everybody else, and it's going to be an amazing thing to watch, and it's really going to be something special. And Linda, you're presiding over something that's so important, and you're going to do a fantastic job, just like you have your whole life. I know your whole life I've been watching you. I've been watching you for a long time. She's had nothing but success. So it's tremendous to have you, and hopefully you won't be there too long, but we're going to find something else for you, Linda, okay? So this will conclude what we are talking about with respect to our most cherished group of people, and that's our children. We want to have our children well educated. We want them to love going to school. We have examples of it. Look at those beautiful, bright-eyed faces. They are so smart. They're so smart. And with that, I'm going to come down, and we're going to sign a very important document, and we're going to be on our way. People have wanted to do this for many, many years, for many, many decades. And I don't know, no president ever got around to doing it, but I'm getting around to doing it. So thank you very much.
Yeah, so I'll say this. I went to I started off going to private school. I went to First Church of God private First Church of God Christian School, which was a private school in LA, right? And I went to school with predominantly black kids, predominantly. And then I went to Windsor Hills, and then I went to KIP, and then I went to then I got into the Green Dot system, right? Charter school system, magnet, because we just couldn't afford it. I went to a boarding school for a little bit, but I went for summer bridge, but I just couldn't afford it. And I realized one thing. I realized that I wasn't as smart as I thought I was when it came to the competition. And that's what we have to understand is, there there is no even ground or fair ground, right? For the kids who are going to public schools versus going to private schools. Now, I went to KIT back when we went to school from 7:30 to 5 o'clock every day, and it made me exponentially smarter, right? I mean, we did STAR testing at the end of the year. Going into high school from eighth grade, I was already reading, writing, and and doing math on a 12th grade level already, right? And this is from eighth grade going into ninth grade. Now, I was going to go to the Taft School, which is a boarding school, but we just couldn't afford it, and my grades were just not high enough. Um, Now, had I performed well at that level, I would have qualified for a scholarship. But at the time, you know what I'm saying? Just going through everything it was a culture shock. I just realized how inexposed I actually was, how unexposed I was to how a lot, well, I wouldn't say a lot, but how the elite are living, right? Now, I think the Taft School now may be $40,000 a year for a freshman. I'm not sure. It might be $40,000, $50,000 a year, just to go to school, just for tuition. Um, and that's a high school at that. So, like I said, I'm an advocate for education. I know how far great education gets you. I did so good that I didn't even have to go to a traditional college. I had the luxury of just going to school for music because I grew up being a critical and analytical thinker from fifth grade. I grew I was taught how to think, how to speak without using like and although I do it now, right? Because I mean this is more of a free form, but at the time we were not allowed to use like and when we spoke. We knew how to gather thought and give a concise argument against for whatever it is we advocated for. So now that I'm at the ripe age of 30, all of those skill sets put me in a position to be able to do something like YouTube, right? Where I can use my mic, you can see the screen, and we can be able to have great conversation based off of whatever the case is. As you see, you know what I mean? Just being able to put certain things together. With my background being in music, it made me that much better of a writer, of a thinker. So for me, I'm a big fan of education. Our educational system fucking sucks in America, especially in LA. LAUSD is probably up there with Chicago in being the worst fucking educational systems ever. And so my job is to do this to gain resources to be able to give back to the school systems that actually gave me life, right? And at the time, I think KIP was separate from Green Dot, right? So we had private funding. So me and one of my best friends till this day, we actually went up to CAA, which is Creative Arts Agency, I think Avenue of the Stars. And I've been there recently now just because, different conversation, obviously. But went there and presented to a boardroom full of multimillionaires, donors, sponsors, and people alike, wealthy people who could give back to KIP. And this was before obviously they got with Green Dot, and then Green Dot became a part of LAUSD, I believe. But this is a different time, and that made me so much. It made me so sharp as an individual, and I'm eternally grateful for Kip. And so when they invited me back to go to the leadership summit last year in Orlando, I mean, paid for everything. I realized that not only do they have the resources, but we have the ability to be able to allocate those resources to the proper places now, because now we know what we're doing wrong. We need to bring back field trips. We need to bring back end of the year trips. I went to the end of the year trip. I mean, my first time seeing the Grand Canyon or going to New York and DC and all that. And I've been back and forth to New York since then. And that was seventh grade, eighth grade. I could have went to Costa Rica. I didn't like one of the teachers, but I would have already had a passport. The level of exposure that this brings, that this puts a child into who has maybe never been anywhere. You put them on a plane. You take them to go see New York, the Empire State Building. You take them to Utah, to where they know how to live off the grid, aside from their phones. I still got the pictures that I took on a disposable Fuji. You know what I'm saying? From that trip. I mean, it was a great trip. We saw devils. I mean, it was 9 days. I camped, and until this day, these are some of these people are some of my best friends till this day, literally. And so what I'm saying is we have to get back to an educational system that is conducive to where we are going as a nation. We need more STEM programs. We need more men in tech. We need more women in tech. We need more engineers. We need more mathematicians. We need more people who are fluent in science. We need more of that. We have to have more of that, because going into the world, as we can see, the future is tech. The future is science. Elon just brought people back from space who were up there for 10 months when they should have been up there for, what was it, 3 or 6 months at the most. We need more scientists, we need more technicians, we need more engineers, we need more people who are fluent in math and who know how to fucking read and write. So, once again, I'm all for it. Trump, throw them niggas away. Throw them the fuck away. Let's rewrite some shit. Let's get back to being the best. Not only just the best economically, but as far as our meritocracy, we need to be the best. We need to be the brightest. We need to get into at least the top 10, and we're not. We're like 50, I believe. I don't know. Somebody look at the stats. But trust me, we're not the brightest. So once again, I say all of that to say I'm for it. I'm with it. And if you got a fucking problem, you can take it up with whomever, because we don't care. I don't care. And if you want to argue, we can get on the panel and argue about it on YouTube. So we can go ahead and monetize, right? So like I said, let's continue to rock. Let's continue to roll. And here we is. More music coming soon. It's your boy Jesse Gennari. And we out this piece. I'm